morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name is Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at the top 10 Pokémon VMAX that have been released so far. Initially, I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to rank all of the Pokémon VMAX, every single one that we've had so far. And then I looked at how many Pokémon VMAXs have actually been released. 28, if anybody's wondering. And I thought, you know what? Ranking 28 cards in a video, maybe that's in the future when I've got a bit more time on my hands. So instead, we're going to have a look at the top 10 Pokemon VMAXs that have been released so far. And we've got a couple of honourable mentions, but I don't really feel bad leaving them off the list. I don't think they're destined for greatness. Now, the new one that makes its way onto the list is Orbeetle VMAX. This is the new one that just came around in Vivid Voltage. And I should say, this list, we are talking about VMAXs. We're not talking about Pokemon Vs. We are judging pretty much entirely on the VMAXs. Now, we don't love the attack here, 50 damage plus 50 more for each energy on your opponent's active. There'll be times that really cashes in, but mostly we're looking at the ability Eerie Beam. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. It's awesome. But it's not going to add up that fast. And we've seen a bunch of different builds running around in Japan with this. We've seen people playing it with Sableye that will do more damage for each damage counter on. That can add up quickly. We've seen it played with Esper that would essentially treble the damage on one of your opponent's Pokemon. I don't think it's ever going to be quite good enough, but it deserved an honourable mention. Similarly, we need to give a quick shout out to Salament's VMAX here. Another one that I like, but I don't like enough to go and put it onto this list. You see, it's got a really nice attack for just a single energy that does 40 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. And that can add up very quickly. This is one of the rare ones where I think we do need to mention the V very quickly. Yes, I know it's been seconds since I said we weren't really going to. But Salamence does 30 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So turn 1 you hit with Salamence, turn 2 you evolve up and hit with a VMAX, and then all of a sudden, that's 70 damage, and there's a lot of 70 HP Pokemon out there. Plus a colourless energy attack that can do 240, none too shabby. But to start off the list properly, in at number 10, we've got Toxtricity VMAX. Now, as far as I'm concerned, there are 5 really good VMAXs we've had, and then there are 5 that have potential or have been good here and there, but have never quite lived up to it in the way that we might want them to. And that is where Toxtricity VMAX very much fits in here. You see, Toxtricity VMAX has an awful lot of potential and sees play here and there, but has never really broken through yet. It's got an attack for free energy that does 240 damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is poisoned. But of course, the poison isn't really a huge deal. You will play Garbodor, that also came around in the same set, Rebel Clash. That will poison your opponent's Pokemon, and just we're using an ability from the bench, and then you hit 240 plus whatever comes in from poison. It's got the usual things that Lightning decks have, like Tapu Koko, etc. But there's a reason it's coming in at number 10 on the list. It's got potential, and people like playing it, but I don't think it's going to threaten the higher end of this list anytime soon. In at number 9, we've got Charizard VMAX. And this is another one of these that is coming in here largely for potential. This is one of these that I really do think could be amazing, but it's just not doing it yet. And really, the MO for Charizard is giant HP, giant damage. 330 HP is gigantic, and 300 damage is gigantic. Yes, you've got to discard 2 energy from this Pokemon when you attack, but you've got Welder to accelerate energy, and you've got triple acceleration energy, and 300 damage is a lot. Now, maybe it's not enough. Maybe in a world of Pokemon VMAXs, 300 damage isn't good enough, and we'd rather just be using Pokemon that hit like 240 for an easier to pay attack cost. But the fact of the matter is, everybody loves Charizard. 330 HP is almost as high as we've seen. 300 damage is huge. It can do 100 damage for a triple acceleration energy. And there's so much damage, I've got to put it on this list just for the potential. Speaking of potential, in at number 8, we've got Pikachu. Yeah, that's right. Pikachu VMAX. That new one what just came out. Now, maybe I'm getting overly excited about new cards, and maybe that is the case here, but I still contend that Pikachu VMAX is a good card. For free energy, you either do 120, which is not terrible, or you discard all the energy and you do 270. And 270 is what we're going to see on Pokemon that are much higher up on this list. And in terms of getting the energy on, you've got Tapu Koko. You've got that new Electrode, which you can KO and then search for 2 energy and attach them. That works. You've got Rose that will attach energy if you discard your entire hand, etc. I do think we can get the energy on to Pikachu VMAX here. And then, essentially, you're just doing 270 turn after turn after turn after turn. And maybe this is going to end up being another also-ran. Maybe this is going to be a Pokemon which people tried using purely on the basis that it's a big chonky Pikachu and we love him, and it's never going to end up being quite good enough. But I'm sorry, I think there's enough potential here to put it onto the list. In at number 7, we've kind of moved here from VMAXs that have potential to VMAXs that have been good here and there but aren't necessarily top tier. We've got Lapras. Lapras is one of those Pokemon that is just always hanging around. I know at least one lovely person that did go and qualify for the Players' Cup too, using entirely Lapras, and qualified pretty high up, I should add. There's a lot going on here. Free energy, 90 damage, plus 30 more for each water energy attached to this Pokemon. Yeah, sure, you've got a lightning weakness and there are lightning decks running around, but otherwise you're fairly hard to KO, and you're doing a lot of damage. You're hitting weakness on Centiskorch, which is relevant, but mostly here, you're kind of KOing anything. You can just put a couple of free energy on there and start going through littler decks, or you can put lots of energy on there and start running through anything. You play it with Frostmoth to accelerate energy as much as you like, and you got stuff like Capacious Bucket there, which will let you search out your energy nice and easily, and you end up with a genuinely good deck. It's not been right at the top of the metagame since it was released, but make no mistake about it, this is a deck that has seen a fair bit of play and a fair bit of success already. Now, in at number 6, we've got Dragapult, and Dragapult is one of those Pokemon that I did not really know what to do with. You see, if we were doing this list around about the release of Rebel Clash, I think this would be number 1. Or at least it should be number 1. If we take out Darkness Ablaze and Vivid Voltage, this is number 1. So how come it only comes in at number 6? And the answer is things change. Back when Dragapult came out, you had this ridiculous Pokemon for 2 energy that did 130 damage, dropped 5 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon in any way you liked, and the only really good thing that could hit it for weakness was Spiritomb, but with their 60 HP and your attack combined with playing Galarian Zigzagoon, would just get KO'd as soon as it got bent, so it wasn't a problem anyway. But then Eternatus happened. And Eternatus, it hasn't come up on this list yet, don't worry, it is on the list, just destroys Dragapult in a fairly hilarious manner. And we've seen people trying to revive it since Rebel Clash went away, using the Clefable that gets rid of energy, the one from Darkness Ablaze, along with Scoop Up Net to reuse it. Try and run your opponent out of energy, playing stuff like Crushing Hammer as well, yes. But the fact of the matter is, there's still so much to love about Dragapult VMAX, but it is not having the impact on the metagame it did when Rebel Clash was the most recent set. But moving into the top 5 here, this is where it starts getting really good. In at number 5 with Snorlax VMAX. Now, Snorlax is another weird one. If we look at the expanded format, Snorlax is an absolute beast. In the standard format, Snorlax is good, but has never been quite as good as it has been in Expanded. For just free colourless energy, but bearing in mind triple acceleration energy will work very nicely indeed, you do 60 damage base plus 30 more for each of your bench Pokemon. To put it simply, that's 210 damage for a single energy attachment, which is awesome. Now, in Expanded, you've got Skyfield, so you can have 8 bench Pokemon, and then you're actually doing 300 damage, which is a little bit ridiculous. Plus, you've got Special Charge, so you can reuse those triple acceleration energy, and it's lovely. But even in Standard, you've got 340 HP, which is as high as we've seen. You've got 210 damage for essentially a single energy attachment. There is so much about Snorlax I love. In Expanded, it is one of the top decks, one of the best choices right now. In Standard, it's still a bit of a fringe deck, but overall, I feel good having it in at number 5. In at number 4, we've got Inteleon. Now, Inteleon, bearing in mind, Inteleon was always my choice for first partner Pokemon. I mean, Sobble, but I let it evolve. In Generation 8 in Sword and Shield, you would have thought that I would have been all over Inteleon from the off. I was not. I slept on Inteleon for ages. Well, turns out Inteleon's awesome. You see, what we've got here for just a single energy, 60 damage, and you put an energy from your opponent's active into their hand, which is actually a sneaky, really good attack, because you combine this with something like Crushing Hammer, and you can legitimately play a energy denial deck. But then for free energy, you do 160 to the active and 60 to one of your opponent's bench. And again, we're using Frostmoth to accelerate the energy here to try and get this rolling nice and quickly. And what we've got is a deck that can play a couple of different ways. 60 damage and get rid of the energy, you play an energy denial deck while poking and probably healing. Or you do 160 to the active, which will 2-hit KO almost anything. But you'll also play Galarian Zigzagoon here to make sure you do 2-hit KO anything, while also hitting 60 to the bench. But bearing in mind Galarian Zigzagoon means that if your opponent's using 60, 70 HP Pokemon, you will just get them as soon as they hit the bench, and that will be kinda hilarious. For you, not for your opponent. Tord took this to a top 4 finish at the first Players' Cup, which surprised pretty much everyone when Tord rocked up with Inteleon. But the fact of the matter is, this keeps coming around and it keeps seeing play, and it is a much better card than we initially gave it credit for. In at number 3, we've got another new entry, another new card from Vivid Voltage. We've got Coalossal VMAX. And this is one that I have a lot of faith in. Coalossal VMAX, for just a single energy, does 40 damage. But you discard the top card of your deck, and if it's an energy card, you attach it to Coalossal VMAX, and instead of doing 40 damage, you do 130 damage, which, shall we say, is better. So the plan here is very simple. You use the Oranguru from Sword and Shield, it swaps a card in your hand with the top card of your deck. You use that to guarantee that there is an energy on top of your deck, and to be clear, it does not have to be a basic energy, so something like a strong or stone fighting energy, which reduces damage done by 20, that will work here. And then you're basically doing 130 for a single energy while accelerating energy until you got enough energy on there to do 240 damage. Which, as we've seen when we compare it to the other VMAXs on the list, is pretty gosh darned good. Honestly, one of the best things that Coalossal VMAX has going for it is weakness. You're hitting weakness against Pikachu VMAX. You're hitting weakness against Eternatus VMAX. You're hitting weakness against Vikavolt, etc. You're hitting a phenomenal weakness here. Probably the best weakness in the game right now. But you're also hitting 130 and then hopefully very shortly afterwards 240. And I shouldn't need to tell you that 130 plus 240 will KO anything, assuming they're not immune to you for some reason, Zamazenta. So the point is, you've got a really nice single energy attack that does good damage. You can combine that with a nice second attack to KO basically anything. Your 330 HP is 10 away from the highest we've ever seen. And we've got built-in energy acceleration as well, just in case that wasn't enough. I'm hitting the best weakness in the game. Yeah, this is pretty gosh darn good. Now, in at number 2, we can finally start talking about VMAXs that have been out for a while and seeing sustained success. It is Centiskorch VMAX. We know that Centiskorch VMAX is a ridiculously good card because it's been out for a while and it's been absolutely crushing. For just 2 energy, you do 40 damage, plus 40 more for each fire energy on Centiskorch, but if you do any damage with the attack, you get to attach a fire energy from your discard. So you use Welder to attach a couple of energy. You use Volcanion, and this is a deck where you really want to go second, because then Volcanion will attach 2 energy from your deck to Centiskorch, combined with the attack, and you just go absolutely nuts here. And there will be games with Centiskorch where you just pile energy on and get just a straight one-hit KO. You just pile energy on and smash, and just get a KO on literally anything. This has the highest damage cap of basically any deck we've looked at. Yes, I'm including Lapras. Centiskorch will usually do more than Lapras. It is ridiculous. Now, if you put too much energy on Centiskorch and it goes down, boo hit, etc. And if you have a bad start and you can't build energy on fast enough, it can struggle against some of the other VMAXs around. But make no mistake about it, this has proven to be, so far, the second best VMAX in the game. It is one of only 2 VMAXs that has seen really high-level sustained success since release. But it's the lesser of the 2. In at number 1 is Eternatus. And Eternatus VMAX, I really don't think there's much argument at this stage as to Eternatus VMAX being the best VMAX in the game. It is a ridiculous VMAX. It is crazy good. It lets you have 8 bench Pokemon, and that just gives you more options. I mean, if you got an extra free bench space, you can have 3 more Pokemon in play. You can do more things. Galarian Zigzagoon would be a great example. But it's not just that. Your attack does 30 damage for each of your Darkness Pokemon in play. You should have 9 Darkness Pokemon in play if things are going well, which means you should be hitting 270 damage for 2 energy. And I've just shown you the best VMAXs in the game right now. 2 energy for 270 is unrivaled. The closest we've really got is Pikachu VMAX that does 270 for 3 energy. Now, there is an argument as to whether you'd rather have a 3rd energy on there or whether you'd rather try and get 8 bench Pokemon. But the fact of the matter is, Eternatus has an extra 30 HP, it has the extra bench space of access to Galarian Zigzagoon, it doesn't have to discard its energy, and although I like Pikachu VMAX, and I think it could end up proving to be better than I've put it on this list, I do think Eternatus VMAX does end up being a fair bit better. And the fact of the matter is, this has been one of the very best decks in the entire game ever since it came out with Darkness Ablaze, so I really don't think there's much argument about this being the number 1 right now. Maybe you could argue Centiskorch, and I know that Coalossal has proven to be very good in Japan, though do remember they have a slightly different format. You know, 2 of the top 8 decks at the Champions League in Yokohama were Coalossal VMAX. But 2 of the top 8 were Eternatus. If anyone's wondering, Coalossal was 3 and 7, Eternatus was 6 and 8. So, marginally for Coalossal there. But make no mistake about it, I am putting this at number 1, and I will happily move it when another VMAX can prove it is better, because right now, none of them have. And there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are the top 10 VMAXs in the game right now. I feel pretty good about my list. But there's a hefty amount of personal feeling on here, and there's some projection from new cards, and shall we say there's plenty of room for us to have a good-natured discussion about it. So let's do that in the comment section, and hey, maybe you give me your full top 10 and I become very happy indeed. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.